Okay, so programming time to start. Thank you. Welcome. The title of the presentation, we are here today to talk around Apache Camel 4 has been released, what's new, but you know, this is not just that kind of presentation where there is a list of features, etc., etc. I will try to tell you a few stories around where was, you know, some news and activity occurring in the Camel ecosystem. So this is for the end. And also would like to share, talking with some people at some conferences, there was the feeling like there is probably a bit of an acceleration if the release stream, you know, Camel 2, 3, 4, and then there is a feeling that major version comes more often than it was. And we will try to share around these stories. So my name is Alexandre Gallice. I'm working as a senior software engineer for Red Hat. So my Twitter handle, I don't publish that more, but maybe you could be more interested in my GitHub handles. It's aldetinger with 2T. And here I have, you know, my demos project and things I'm tinkering with edge computing at that moment and probably AI in a few moments. So I already almost mentioned the plan, but what we'll do, we'll have first an introduction. I don't know how many people here in the room knows about Camel. Sure. Oh, okay. Okay. So we will try, you know, to have a very, very quick summary, and there we go for the presentation. So release stream acceleration, we will have the most notable changes for major release, and the word about migration, but really this is not the core of the topic, just give you some pointers. And then the crazy new tools, Camel, JBang, and Kyoto, this is where we have you know, things occurring, competition between projects, etc. But I try to give you some pointers around just what's happening, the news. So what a camel is, it's this animal with two humps, and we have, you know, crazy pictures when we are publishing some blog posts. But well, come back to the subject more seriously. This is our logo. But what Apache Camel is a framework to do integration. So here we have two applications, system A and B, and just remind that they are using distinct technologies, protocols, data formats, and you would like to have everything communicating together. So you need something in the middle. And this thing, in Camel, it's called a root. And we will best see that with an example here. The typical situation you will face when you will write a route, you want to extract a message from a source system and push another message to the target system. So you need interaction connectivity with technologies. And we have 300 of them accessible with Camel through what we call components. In the middle, because you are now able to create and produce message, we would need some things that will help us to manage, you know, the most common operation you would have on those exchanges. And this is what we do with a DSL, domain system language, dedicated to integration. We have just few keywords, and they are automatically doing for you standard operation on messages. And you best see that on the last line of this slide, where you have a typical camel route. And the good news, it behaves as it reads. Let's do that. From that topic, we are consuming some messages from a NAT server on a given topic. Well, next step, filter. So we are using a keyword which is pre-registered, and filter, given a predicate, it will try to garbage out the files, the message we are not interested in, and the message which are really interesting, we will pass them to the next step in the pipe, which is the to. So we are producing messages to an external system, and we are producing to Derby database through JDBC. And really, if you have that, that's okay for the presentation, it's sufficient. So there is this story around in conferences, this feeling of release stream acceleration. So I think let's take the number, and we see that we have this version, Camel 2, which lasted for 10 years, and then Camel 3 lasted for 4 years, and then Camel 4 is now out, and people are, you know, by series thinking that it will last only for 1 year, or we don't know. So first, is it true? We need to notice that there is an exception. For instance, Camel 1 lasted only for 2 years. So this is not, you know, very regular. And if you see where it leads us, we need to check what are the root causes of those major version breaks. And if you are talking around Camel 3 and Camel 4, this is the three main things we have discussed with the teams that have implications. So, quick story around the cloud adoption, which is changing the JVM paradigm. Previously, we had some JVMs running Java application, and they were started once, running for long. In the cloud, we can feel that this is not true anymore. I don't expand that much on that. So we have new frameworks like Quarkus, which is addressing this space, and it goes so deeply the consequences in the stack that there was a need for a major intensive rewrite in some part of Camel. For instance, just a small parenthesis to feel this power of around Quarkus. For instance, there is a state in Switzerland which has adopted Quarkus, and they have increased their productivity by three times, and the workload, the consumption of resources for the same application is more efficient, and this is a 40% reduction workload. But this doesn't come for free, and there is impact deep inside the technical stack. And in Camel, for instance, I just give you a quick example. In the Camel 3 release, there was intensive rewrite for removing some Java dynamic features like reflection, and this come up at the end for need of a major version break. Okay, so enough for this, just feeling this adoption, there was a big move on this motivate a major version. In 2018, there was this Java 6 monthly release cadence with what changed. So more innovation under the hood in Java. We are a Java framework, so of course we are in this move. And now we will come back to the main motivation of Camel 4, which is just really this, the Jakarta move, probably just those APIs were given from Oracle to Jakarta, if I remember, and the name, the JavaX package name, need to change, breaking change, huge, and so we were impacted by that. And this is no surprise that in Camel 4, the most notable change is that, just a package renames that could sound, a bit of a big story for nothing, but this is really the main motivation. We will see later on that it has a bit of consequences from the, let's say, the way we use the library. Okay, this is not the only changes for sure. We've taken this opportunity to move on with Java 17, Spring Boot 3, Quarkus 3, etc. And there is something now, especially with Quarkus maturing, Camel Quarkus has the possibility to take the Camel LTS version, Quarkus LTS version, and do a Camel Quarkus version, which is also LTS, long-term support. And those ones, they are well maintained, and you can use them, without. There is a kind of a stability. Yeah. So this is something which is landing, and this is, a bit of sign of maturity too. Of course, Camel is a framework used since a long time. We are taking care of performance improvements, and there was a lot. We have caught some regression even recently with a colleague called Ottavio, and we are paying attention to this. So still, this is ongoing. Now you would say to me, okay, but you did not mention any new feature for major versions. That's a pity. Okay, come on. There was some. I don't want to tell about all of them, but platform HTTP main is one which is illustrating. Platform HTTP, it just means that Camel, so integrating the systems, will need an HTTP server, and it will use the one from the runtime. So if you are using Quarkus, this is Vertex under the hood. And platform HTTP main is just a simple way to easily embed an HTTP server inside your application. Kind of new features like that we have also added in Camel 4. Of course, this has some consequences around the migration size. I think we will not expand that much on that, but just think about the situation. So we have breaking changes in the Java ecosystem at large. Camel, components, connecting with technologies. They are using third-party libraries, which are impacted also. So there could be a kind of a situation which is a bit untypical. Generally in Camel, the story, you have some components, and some of them, generally, they are added, new one, new one, new one, and sometimes one is deprecated, okay? So this is like new components or components deprecated. Here, there is a special topic. You could imagine that in Camel 4, if the third-party library under the hood is not ready, probably you will have a component that could be removed temporarily until the third-party library has migrated to the new Jakarta API. This is just, the only situation which is a bit tricky compared to the immense, deep stabilities that Camel has over the past. Yeah, we are aware of that. Of course, if you find yourself in this situation, please just connect with us and we will try to find a solution, try to lobby around the third-party library which has not moved yet, etc. Honestly, this point for me, it's like the biggest pain. Otherwise, there are few API changes for basic users, but really, yeah, this is well and even documented inside the migration guide, which is mentioned there. We pay big attention to, reminding while working, spotting breaking changes, and then we just write the migration guide on the fly. So this is, what users have reported, it's usable. For very advanced users, complex topic, here you can find yourself in a tricky situation, but then, yeah, you are an advanced user, just connect with the community. I will give you some pointers at the end, and there we go. We will try to help and find something. And honestly, half of the presentation, I think this is all what I want to share around these Camel 4 topics and the breaking changes. So now there is a place in the Camel community where a lot of things are happening, and this one, Camel JBang, we could say it's a bit of a revolution in the user experience, and this is a key word. Really, there is a big attention and thinking around this nowadays. What is Camel JBang? It's just the power of Camel doing integration quickly, but with simple command lines, okay? And it reverts the approach that you have been working before. For instance, you have some commands like camel init, run, etc., and you will interact. So first, this is not like a developer approach where you will write a project. You are typing some commands. So we see there is a bit of a difference. And the idea is that instead of writing your project from the start, you will write what is interesting for you. What is interesting for you is what we have seen, the root, the integration logic. I want to consume from, to, filter, etc., that kind of things. And you directly start with this. So you prototype, you see how it's running, and eventually, at the end, you export it as a project, okay? So you play first, and if there is value, you create a project. This is best illustrated with this typical workflow. What you do, on the left, camel init roots a.xml. So by the way, this is XML DSL, but we support Java, whatever, YAML, whatever. You create, you initialize your root, and with camel run star -- dev, you will see that your root is instantly logging what's happening, and when you change the source of the root, edit the XML file, the Java file, whatever, you see immediately the results. So you could see that it's quick feedback around your development, a bit in the Quarkus dev approach for those who know. And then you are able to, log and watch, debug, etc., do your tuning at the end. And at the end, if you feel like this is interesting, you run camel export, and then you choose your runtime. You are not even needed to choose your runtime at the beginning. Here, you can choose the runtime at the end. And there is another place where we have some kind of things happening. And this is best reflected in the extension pack for Camel. So I've talked with you about the end user experience, and there is another part. It's like the developer experience, when tools that will help you to, I don't know, code completion, that kind of things. But this is a bit tricky to present, so the way I've chosen is to talk about the extension pack for Camel in VS Code. This is the best thing which wrap up all of this subject. In VS Code, so you have an extension, and you can use it in order to enhance your productivity while developing. So for instance, there is one thing which is looming, we could say, since a long time. There was some discussion, multiple projects, competing approaches, and it's eventually converging to something around how to display graphically a camel route. Okay, you know that we can write it from to, but then having it graphically in an editor, you know, seems appealing. And this is the story around Kaoto, which apparently is emerging as doing this very well. And just by coincidence, the team of Kaoto told me that the version 2 should be out this month in January. So I don't know if it's already done or it will be done quickly. At least they promised me, so don't blame me for that, in case. And so the version 2 is out, and we will see a bit later in the next slide what it looks like. But this is not the only part. We need to understand a bit the philosophy that this Kaoto, it could be used in the Visual Studio extension, Visual Studio Code extension, but it could also be embedded anywhere, you know, and probably you could find that in some other places on the long run. And this philosophy is the same for all the next items that I will present. With the extension pack for Camel, you have the possibility to run, debug, and deploy your route. So we could imagine being able to run the route, being able to deploy on your targets, whatever. And this is done via a technology standard, which is called debug adapter, and debug adapter allow you to use that in other places. So this is not just VS Code in the long run, it can be run in a lot of places. And last, we have some code completions, auto completion with code editor, you know, interesting features. And this is done via LSP, which is just the same spirit, another protocol, another standard, which will allow you to have this kind of, you know, it's like very modular. They can be used inside the extension pack, but you can also find that in a lot of places. Okay, I will just finish with the last slide, which is about, you see here the power of the graphical representation of a route. So I don't know, yeah, if you like or not the design, this could be, you know, discussed, but at least it's more clear. We have a visual representation on the left, and we see that we have two routes. One which is starting with an ActiveMQ, consuming messages from ActiveMQ, syncing the body and sending to an Amazon SNS service, you know. And could you imagine, you write your route, you come back 5-10 years later, because Camel is very stable, you need to migrate to a new version, bam, auto documentation. You see very quickly, probably this is not the same developers that will face that. So yeah, so that could be used in the spirit also of documentation. And on the right, same spirit, this is a simple route consuming messages from an ActiveMQ server. And the choice, it's like depending on the incoming message, I will route to a given branch. Here we have 3, meaning that we can have our messages depending on some criterion. We will send it to Google Drive, Amazon S3, or FTPS if you are working with an old, you know, style fashion company. I shouldn't say that because, yeah, some companies are using this for good reason. And anyway, this is one of the power of Camel. You are able to integrate systems, make them communicate together. New systems communicating with old systems, low-level systems communicating with high-level systems, etc., etc. So last things to finish. On the right, you see that we have this the transcription in the YAML DSL this time. And guess what? This YAML DSL, it could also be used in JBang. And you start to see the possibilities, the bridges there is between all those things. Okay, it's just almost 1 minute left, just few pointers there. I will try to reach out the question I can. Otherwise, we can discuss later on. But the most important thing here is that you have the Zulip chat, the second line. If you have questions in any way, please come there. There are a ton of people participating from the community and probably having best answers than me in any way. So yeah, just feel free really to reach out and share ideas and whatever. Time for questions, 40 seconds.
Do you have any question? No? I have a question.
Yeah.
Is Kaoto working only with YAML or also with other languages?
No, as far as I know, it's only working with YAML. That's okay. The choice. I can't really remember because in this context, I don't think this is really interesting to have all things because you are editing And then, yeah, most of the time, the DSL used inside it needs to be something not graphical, but something very graphical friendly, let's say.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Grazie a tutti. Buon appetito.
Merci. Grazie.